welcome to your Daily 5 for Thursday, April 4th, 2024. There was an interesting little bit of movie news that broke, I think early yesterday, at least that's when I saw it, which is that there is going to be I guess it would be a fifth, depending on how you number certain things, but as far as live action, that there's going to be a fifth Matrix film that is going to be helmed by Drew Goddard, who is best known for writing some episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Lost, some other stuff, and probably what most people, though, directly associate Goddard with is the Cabin in the Woods film, which I am not as much of a fan of as a lot of other people. I don't think there's anything terrible about it. I just didn't think it's as clever as some other people did. It's fine, but I know it didn't hit me the same way. That's just, So when I saw that name, I see that one of the Wachowskis is involved as a producer, which could mean a lot of input or it could mean next to nothing. It could just be a paycheck role. But when I saw the name, when I saw that Goddard was doing it, and I saw that there was going to be another Matrix film, my initial reaction was very negative. I thought, oh, why? Why do we need another one of these movies? The fourth one was interesting as a meta experiment, but I don't even really consider that a Matrix film because it didn't feel like it was actually trying to continue the story. It was more of a commentary on how movies are made and the reaction to the Matrix films than it was an actual Matrix movie. I liked it, but it did not feel like a continuation. And so initially I just thought, oh, okay. But then I saw a quote that was interesting. And I want to read this verbatim, so there might be a little bit of echo off my screen to make sure I get it right. The quote is, Goddard said that he has a, quote, new idea that we all believe would be an incredible way to continue the Matrix world. Now that quote is very interesting because you can read it in one of two ways. One is that they're making this a direct sequel to, I don't know, either the first three or the fourth film. Again, the fourth film is a weird one. So either this is just keeping this going, resurrecting the Matrix and I guess some variants of the original characters or having them around or something. Or what they're talking about is more in line with what was going on when the Matrix films were coming out. And that is what I'm thinking of specifically is the Animatrix short films, the animated ones, and the Matrix comics that were put together. There's an anthology of them. I actually have it. I'm looking right at it. And those stories in some ways overlapped the main characters, but there were also stories that had no relation to the direct events of the films and were simply telling stories inside the Matrix itself as a framework. And I liked a lot of those. In fact, some of them were really good. And if that's what is meant here, that's what Goddard's aiming for, is similar to, say, like the Andor series for Star Wars, where it's not a direct sequel, it's taking place in between things. If that's what they're looking at doing, that could potentially be really interesting because the Matrix as a concept allows you to tell almost any type of story you want. There's a wide kind of universe there to explore. So if that's what they're talking about, that could potentially be really interesting. I actually would be, and of course we don't know now because it's, they've just announced this. We don't have a lot of details. We just have this one quote to go off of, which again, you could read two different ways. So some of this is, well, let's see what they're actually proposing. But just based on that quote, there's really two paths that we can see coming off of this thing. One that's potentially very interesting, and the other that just makes me disinterested. It feels, if they're just going to keep these movies going, then what that feels like is what's happened with Star Wars, where the first three movies were great, and they've just continually not been able to figure out a path around that, except for these small tangential side stories, like Star Wars Visions, which I love. Almost no overlap whatsoever with the core films or characters. Different stories in the Star Wars universe, and a lot of them quite excellent. If that's what this is going to be, then I'm actually really interested. I would like to see, you can do a sequel, it can work. There was Blade Runner 2049 and a small handful of other ones, but they're rare. I just don't feel like that's the logical path for this. But if it's going to be something where it's the same kind of basic world, but different stories and new ideas and really pushing the concept out, well, then I am interested. So my initial reaction was based on the fact that I simply assumed, and that may still be the case, that this is just going to be a direct sequel, which I don't need to see Neo or Morpheus. I'm done with, I've got that story. They wrapped it up in the trilogy. We're fine. If that's what it's going to be, I don't really care. If it's going to be something new and different and interesting, well, then I would actually be interested. So we have to wait and see what comes out. But this could go really good or really bad. We'll just have to wait and see. Later.